Welcome in to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. We've got a very interesting show today, folks, in that today is not your typical True Crime Tuesday. In fact, today we're going to talk to a man who did what he did in that he was a con man and a thief. He did it for not a long time, but a good time. We'll put it that way. And when he did it, I shouldn't say he didn't do it for a long time. He did it for a relatively long time, but then when he got caught, that was it. And we'll explain what we mean by that. But when he did it, boy, he did it on a big scale. Didn't start out on a big scale, but he had big dreams. And when you're a dreamer and you dream big, sometimes you have big consequences. And boy, our guest had big consequences on top of those big dreams. I got to tell you, sometimes you don't want to try to admire the guy for the dream, but I'll tell you, he was imaginative. We'll talk to him today about his book, Baker, Liar, Con Man, Thief, which is available right now on Wild Blue Press. Folks, this is an impressive book. I'm telling you, we have a link in the description of this program. I want you to go out and get this book today because it is something else. David or DJ Adler is the author of this book, and he's a recovering attorney who now consults to several individuals and small businesses. He is a former social parody columnist who has won awards for insightful essays. In his book, Baker, Liar, Con Man, Thief, Adler depicts his mother's 1970s to 1980s exploits running con games on unsuspecting financial institutions. Now, David spends as much time as he can with his family right now, and he resides outside Chicago and often visits California, Colorado, Las Vegas, New England, and Florida. He enjoys shopping, mentalism, movies, good food, usually burgers, and you'll find that out in the book as you read the book that there isn't a burger that David hasn't met that he doesn't enjoy. I feel the same. And comedy clubs, another love that we both have in common. Let's welcome into True Crime Tuesday, David Adler. David, welcome into the program.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you for having me.
I got to tell you, David, I thoroughly enjoyed the book, and I feel like after reading the book that I really got a sense of knowing you and that you started, I want to say you started your exploits. I don't want to say life of crime because it seems almost innocent, but you started your exploits very young, didn't you?
I did, 19.
Wow.
Yeah, I was struggling to find my place in the world and wound up in the collection business when the collection business was, well, kind of like the Wild West. It was very discriminatory, very pejorative, and as I write in the book, the gentleman that I worked for was a horrible racist, and we would he would drag me out to do things that were, well, just unconscionable. And so it was that motivation that got me to try to find some other way to make my way in the world. And at 19, without more than a high school education, it wasn't easy.
I know, David, we have a lot in this world. There's some of us that are built for 9-to-5 jobs. There's some of us that, we tell ourselves, I can't sit at a desk. I can't work in a factory. I can't conform to the man. We'll put it that way. I know I'm one of those guys. I've worked in factories. I've worked retail management. I've worked doing different jobs in my day, and I find myself having to sit behind a microphone and wanting to talk to people and tell their stories. I found that's what I want to do in life. That's my passion in life, is to be able to sit across from somebody and getting to know them and being able to vibe one-on-one with somebody and just sit down and spend time with someone and get to know them. And
mazel tov for living your dream.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that when you find your passion in life, it's rewarding, it's fulfilling. I guess the question, and it's a matter of, how do you find your passion? Are you tortured into it, or do you find it? What necessity do you find it through? Now, the way you found it was, of course, torture. It's pure torture, and I'll tease people with that. But there is a scene in the book that is pure torture. I won't spoil it for people, but it is pure torture. I have to ask you this much, though. In collections, the way they did collections when you were doing collections versus the way they do collections now is night and day. Give us a little taste, if you will, as to how devious collections were in the day when you were doing it versus now.
Well, I would say not only devious, but sadistic. I mean, the people who I worked for who did collections looked at the debtors as pariahs if they didn't pay even a portion of their debt, and especially in the African American communities, which were, especially at that time in the 70s, the most impoverished communities. The techniques to collect the debt were horrible. Like, for example, there was nothing to stop a creditor from calling a debtor at all hours of the night. So what was one of the things that was expected was that you would take home files for people that you couldn't get during the day and call them 1, 2, 3 in the morning and wake them up and harass them with the expectation that they would eventually pay the bill because they were tired of the harassment. But for a lot of people, that was sport. Wow. That was like how they weren't collectors just to get the money. They were collectors because it was their version of proving their superiority, like being a legal hunter or something. And you would. One of the things they would do would be to put together documents that looked legal but weren't, and bring them to an unsuspecting family, making them think that they were about to have real significant consequences to not paying the debt. And then in the worst case, they would go out to the house and just literally harangue the family until they paid their debt. And in one instance that I write about in the book, this was my first time out in what they called the field. We went out into this impoverished neighborhood, and the guy that I worked for went to the house. And when you took out a loan, you had to list your personal property. What you didn't know is by listing the personal property, you're putting it up for collateral. Mm-hmm. And my boss, as it were, went to the guy, held a very tight frame, very dominant frame, because he was racist and he felt superior to the poor people on the other end of his treatment. And he'd say, okay, he held out the paperwork and he's like, I see you have a dining room set with 4 chairs. And you better have that because it's collateral. It'll be against the law if you got rid of it. And no, I have it, sir, I have. Well, why don't you bring a couple of those chairs out here? Let me take a look at them. And the guy brought out a couple of the chairs. Said, okay, I'll take the one on the left. And he takes the chair, puts it in the guy's small front yard, goes to his car, gets a gallon of gasoline, and lights the chair on fire.
Oh, my God.
And the guy's right in the guy's front yard. The kids are crying. The wife is crying. The guy is like, I don't have the money Okay, give me the other chair. Wait. And the guy goes back in the house, just like supplicating, like supplicating a god. He holds out the $20. Will you take this for right now? Yeah. You want a receipt?
Oh my God.
No, just please get out of my.
Wow.
And this went on. This was not an uncommon practice. So I had to get out of that life. I couldn't. I just didn't have the conscience to do that. I had the conscience to do other things.
Yeah.
But not to hurt poor people.
We're right. And as someone with, and I know we're splitting hairs here, considering the career you go into, but on a moral basis, you can't hurt someone who's downtrodden and out on their luck, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Much less feel like their circumstances and your circumstances make you superior to them.
Right.
And give you the right to actually use their circumstances just to harm them.
Right.
Yeah.
So
although toward the end, I wound up as a predator of some loan companies. Right. It was karmic.
Yeah, and it's funny how, and we'll get to that here, David, because there's. It's if you start to think about who is actually affected. I mean, we'll get to the irony of this here in a bit, but yeah, it's kind of funny how things are cyclical and things like that. But so at this point, you just decide you've had enough of the collection game, and you're thinking, well, there's got to be a different way to come up with money, and of course, I'm not going to sit at a desk and do this. So in your head, you think to yourself, okay, there's got to be an easier way to score bigger cash. So how is it you decide that you've got to go out and get bigger money, and where do you go to get it?
Well, a lot of that was based on my stepfather. He was constantly saying, if you got your own business, then you don't have to worry about anything. All you need to do is get your a foothold in business. And I would scour the classified ads at the time, looking for opportunities that could be leveraged. It was, I guess, like a superpower. And I went through several. I mean, and the business could have been anything. I wound up with a bakery, but, I tried a meat market, a restaurant, several restaurants. But I'm 19 years old and things collapsed very quickly. But this bakery was well positioned. And what I had heard was, all you have to do is get your foot in the door, get the business, we'll run it, and everything will be fine from that point on. Happy ending.
Well, it's just
that's what I did.
It's just not a bakery you're swinging for here. Right. It's not just a corner bakery that's some mom and pop shop. You're swinging for a pretty big bakery here, aren't you?
It was. It was the biggest bakery in Hollywood, Florida, and it was a trick of desperation that I managed to score the bakery with like $500, which is all I had in my savings. And the bakery cost was $40,000.
Ooh.
So, yeah. Like I said, it was desperation. And I did manage to come up with enough of a leverage that I was able to pick up control of the bakery.
And the way you tell the story is really quite clever. You go in to meet the owner, and the owner is kind of looking you up and down like you're a little too young to be in here to begin with, right? This isn't
right.
This isn't really he's kind of a little suspicious to begin with, and you charm him a little bit, and he's expecting a sizable down payment, of course, on that type of business, and he's wanting a cash down payment, and of course you don't have that, as you've stated. You've got $500 to your name, and yet he's pointing out to you that he's got all this equipment, this restaurant equipment that is worth quite a bit.
That was the equipment and his reputation.
Yes, and his reputation.
Were what he was selling.
Yep.
And he was very proud of it. And so in my way of thinking, since I'm buying into these assets, those assets could be used as collateral for a loan. Mm-hmm. Little did I know, it doesn't work like that. A bank doesn't just give you collateral, or it just doesn't give you a loan on bakery equipment because you ask for it, especially when you're 19 years old and they have no credit.
Right.
So it was the big get there was getting the bank to agree to give me the loan for the down payment. And that was fortuitous because I found somebody that had that was an appraiser and had an insurance company that was guaranteeing their appraisals. So based on his expertise and my pushiness, I guess, I was able to convince the bank that their investment would be protected by that appraiser. I think the name of the company was Mutual of America. It was out of Missoula, Montana. And this was kind of like a niche policy that they did. And that by getting that policy, and I had to pay the policy between the whatever I had coming from my paychecks, that investment got the bank to agree to give me the loan. So, like I said, it was more of desperation and luck than deviousness at that point.
The other thing I found amazing too, David, is that so at this point it's yourself, your stepdad, your mother, and the bank also looks at you and says, "Well, who among you is a baker?" And
right,
none of you are bakers, and so at this point,
right.
Your mother is working in a restaurant and says, "Well, we have a man who is here is a heck of a baker, and I think I can convince him to come over." Yeah,
two more things that fell in place for me. Number one, the restaurant was Wolfie's, and Wolfie's back then was a very well-known restaurant, very well known for their pastries. And my mother was very persuasive, and the baker there really loved her and wanted to, wanted to be successful. Plus, he was facing his own discrimination from the owners of Wolfie's. At least that's what he said. And so he was happy to jump on board. And his resume was fantastic. So when I approached the bank, I had not only the guarantee from the appraiser, but I had his resume. I just kind of checked the boxes that the banker had said I needed.
So you've got your baker, you've got your insurance policy that basically guarantees that the restaurant equipment is what it says it is. You've got everything lined up. The banker goes, "Okay, I have everything I need to give you the loan." You go to the bakery who says, "Okay, I guess based on your $500 and everything else, I can sell you the bakery. Congratulations, you now have a bakery." So you've essentially graduated to your own business, which is amazing. So with that, I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break because it seems like you're now in the money, right? But this is just
You would think.
You would think, but this is just the beginning of your problems, David.
Yeah.
You would think that this should be happily ever after for David and his mother and his stepfather, Sal. Sal, Sonny, and David have some issues. And we're about to go over those issues. In fact, this is just the beginning of a spiral. It's not the beginning of success. It should be mazel tov and all should be good. It's not, folks. This is just where our story is beginning. The name of the book is Baker, Liar, Conman, Thief, Escaping the Law One Identity at a Time. DJ Adler is the author on this, otherwise known as our friend David, who's on the line right now. When we come back, why would such a lucrative business as a bakery, especially the best bakery in Hollywood, Florida, end up becoming a money pit and not a cash cow? We'll tell you when we come back. DJ Adler is our guest right here on the Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. Welcome back to the Best in True Crime Podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, Tim Dennis. The name of the book, and it's a great one at that, is Baker, Liar, Conman, Thief, Escaping the Law One Identity at a Time. DJ Adler is the author on this book. We call him David on this program. David is now the proud owner of a bakery, one of the best bakeries in Hollywood, Florida. And he's there with his mother, he's there with his stepfather, and a baker named Ray. And they're about to move into this brand new bakery. At least it's brand new for them, but it's an established bakery there in Hollywood, Florida. It's got a great clientele, and it's got a lot of clients, as a matter of fact. And it's Romano's. Isn't that the name of the bakery, David?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the name. Yeah.
And known to everybody. A lot of wedding cakes coming out of there. A lot of pastries coming out of there. Lots of good stuff. So tell me, David, why is it that this thing doesn't take off like a shot?
Well, because it turns out that just taking over a business doesn't guarantee your success, even if the business has a solid reputation. You need skills in accounting, you need skills in business, marketing, that there's just a lot of things that go into it. And none of us had any of that. We thought the money would just flow in like a fountain. But it turned out that money was going out faster than it was coming in. We weren't pricing things correctly. The people would complain. It was just more of it became more of a pit than it did a success. And the further down it went, the more difficult the emotions were for my stepfather and eventually my mother, because he had a temper. He had a horrible temper, and he didn't handle stress well. And he would be in the kitchen throwing things, and he got to a breaking point. So yeah, it takes more than just a dream to hold a business together.
He got to such a temper that eventually you lose the thing that kept you in the business in the first place, your baker.
That's right. That's right. He got, for no reason, started accusing Roy of wanting to sleep with his wife and use the N-word on him and just absolutely devastated any relationship. So the baker left, and the other thing is, you could have the business, but if you don't have the capital to go with it, you don't have anything to fall back on. And so there was really no cushion to help float those mistakes. And that was what I wound up providing, the wrong way, but that's what led me in what I call my own personal original sin.
So at this point, you're losing money hand over fist here, David.
Losing money, everybody's losing their minds. It's one thing to go from crappy job to crappy job and think, this is my life. It's another thing to get to some level of success and then start to see it disappear around you. And to know it's your own fault, it's a different kind of torture.
It is. And it's a nightmare because you see that sand going right through your fingers, and you see the dream slipping away, and you would do anything to recover it because this was a dream of your own making. This was something that you manifested, and here it is slipping away, and you do anything to recover it and make it better.
Exactly. And at first, I didn't even realize that I was committing a crime to do it. I mean, I suppose I should have, but it just seemed so benign. I inadvertently started doing what was called check kiting. And check kiting is when you have money in your account that is only there because you've deposited a check from another account. And there's float in the check, so the bank doesn't clear. The bank clears the check before they actually have the money. And because the account had so much credibility, being the business account and everything, I was able to keep that float going for quite a while, and with enough money that it actually helped buoy the business's expenses and keep the business afloat, even with our mistakes. It provided the capital. But eventually it came to an end because even though I didn't know it was wrong, well, I knew it was wrong, I didn't know how illegal it was, the bank certainly did. So that was my first conflict with the law.
But admittedly here, David, you went a little beyond the float, didn't you? I mean, you floated a little beyond the float. At one point, you realize you've got to go beyond just floating you've got to go beyond expenses. You've really got to go to the point where you've got to live. So the amount is pretty substantial, right?
Oh yeah, no question.
Can you give the audience what the amount was?
Well, I believe at that point I got to about, what was it, 15?
Yeah.
15?
Yep.
Yeah, about $15,000, which in the 70s was a lot of money, especially. But it was enough to, and remember, I mean, it's integrated with the cash that was coming into the bakery. So that, you put all the money together and that's what we were using. But yeah, it was enough to pay suppliers, and it was enough to pay the necessary expenses, make sure the power wasn't getting cut, make sure the van wasn't getting repossessed.
Yep.
And yeah, so it was substantial. But
and so there's that point in there. So you realize you're now in it. We'll put it that way. You're now in it, and
right.
you've done something wrong, and you realize that things are closing in. At what
right.
point do you realize, okay, I gotta make a move here, that I'm not going to be able to pay the money back?
At the point that I was arrested for the first time. At the point that I went to the bank to make the large, maybe it was a $20,000 check at the bank to cover the $15,000, and the teller started to stall me and I realized something was wrong. And I went out in the parking lot, and there was Detective Spencer waiting to bring me back into the bank and punish me for my crime.
We should elaborate a little bit more than that. So you go to the bank. Tell people what the idea was here behind this. So you've got the initial 15,000 that you had out there, but you had an idea here. You basically told your parents what was the scenario here? Well,
the scenario was I had the money. I told my parents. None of us thought that it was basically rationalization. The idea was, we're basically giving the money to ourselves. I'm putting money from one account into the other, and if the bank goes along with it, then there's nothing illegal about it. It's the bank's fault for making a mistake. But that was our mistake, because it was very much illegal. Check kiting is a crime. So at the point that I went too far with it, the bank had already caught on to what I was doing and set up a sting so that when I went in to deposit that check, they caught me red-handed. They had the check. They knew who the check was from, and brought me in, and the detective wanted to prosecute.
He wanted to prosecute you for bringing in another check. The guy who wrote you out the loan, the initial loan, says, no. I don't want to prosecute. If anything, I'll roll in the $15,000 of the bad check into the loan that you took out for the bakery. You owe me all the money that you've now taken from this bank, but I'm closing all your accounts, and I never want to see you again. Is that accurate?
Yeah, which kind of proved the premise, because normally if you went in with a gun and stole money from a bank, they'd be the first ones to want to prosecute you.
Yeah.
But here, the bank was saying, no, you know what? We appreciate it. It's illegal, but we don't want to prosecute in this case. Let's just do what we can to mitigate this and let bygones be bygones.
Now, here's what's confusing about this, David. Is this because it was such a small white-collar crime that they decided not to prosecute, or was it because of the embarrassment?
I'd say it was more the embarrassment.
Yeah?
And it's a small community. I mean, the bank made a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for, promotion. That they were keeping the loan on the bakery, that they were a partner in the community. To have it get out there that they were stung by the very people that they were trying to help, and the methodology for how it happened, I think that was too much. I think that they ran it up their own flagpole and decided they didn't want that getting out. So there had to be some consequence, and the consequence was that they would increase the loan to cover their loss. But I think that the criminal aspect of it was something they just didn't want the public at large to see. Check kiting, especially at the time, was not that well known. And it wasn't something that I think banks generally wanted people to start looking at as maybe some sort of opportunity.
Okay. So you feel like I got away with one here, in a way.
I did, although my time of innocence was over. I mean, after I'd been caught, and I did. But on the other hand, I did feel chastised, as it were.
Yeah.
But I did get over there. I mean, technically, they wanted to arrest me. They didn't. I got away with $15,000, and And there were really no consequences at that point.
Go ahead. Yep.
That the detective was so angry that he was waiting for something else to happen.
Because he knew, and rightfully so, he knew that you had had a taste.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah. And in the criminal mind, and he knew in the criminal mind, once you get a taste of that kind of cash and you've made that kind of a move, chances are you're probably going to do it again, especially if you're let go.
Yeah, although at that point, that wasn't what started the spiral. I was grateful for having gotten away with that. I really thought I was going down for a long time just based on what had happened. But it wasn't until, at that point, the bakery started doing better. We started getting our footing. We still had capital from what I had done. But then was the problem where my mother wound up in the hospital for her back. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have that much money. And hospitals were, this was way before Obamacare. Right. Hospitals were not taking people that couldn't pay their bills if it wasn't an emergency. And my mother was on morphine, and she was it was an accident, but we didn't know about worker comp, and we didn't know about all that stuff. And in order to get my mother admitted to the hospital to get the surgery that she needed, I wrote a $5,000 bad check. Ooh. And that was what actually started my descent to ashes through trying to find a life to avoid prosecution on that check. It turned out that the hospital probably would not have done much more than send it to collections. But while my mother was in the hospital's negligence caused her injury to be exacerbated. And I think that was part of the reason that they took such a strict interpretation of how they wanted to handle the check. So they prosecuted on the check. It got back to Spencer, the officer who was there at the Hollywood Bank, and and that's where it started. Then we went to an attorney who there are a lot of dynamics that take place here.
Yeah.
The Florida in the late 70s was a drug haven. And the attorney that we went to was an attorney that handled, drug cases. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of bribery, and there was a lot of different things. Ultimately, the attorney said, I needed to come up with $10,000, which we didn't have, or I was going to go to Rayford prison. And there was no way I was going to go to Rayford prison. So that's the point at which we jump bond and became fugitives.
And when you become fugitives, you decide you have to, at that point, you can't go get jobs, right? I mean, it's not like you can settle down and go work at Wendy's. It's not the life you can have.
Right. I mean, first of all, I wound up finding I had two talents at that point. The one was a talent for making identifications.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we were able to stay ahead of everybody, because I made baptismal certificates. They got driver's licenses that would pass muster with anybody that we needed it to. So we all changed names hundreds of times. The other thing was that I had an ability to look at financial systems and find the weaknesses in those systems. So, for example, with and sometimes the opportunity just showed up.
Yeah.
So from the point that we left Florida as fugitives, we went to New Orleans, and it was amazing. We were living in a trailer camp in Slidell, which is right outside New Orleans, in tents. And I'm looking at an interview with Governor Edwards. He's talking about his problems finding tourism. And it popped into my head that New Orleans should have a World's Fair. And I went to a payphone and got through on a payphone to Governor Edwards. It was amazing. I called. I went to the switchboard. Yeah, he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. In fact, we're exploring that. Why don't you join our committee? I'm a freaking fugitive from Florida, and they're asking me to join a committee to help explore the World's Fair. But once I got there, and I knew it wouldn't last. I mean, there's only so much pretending you could do.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got there, they explained to me that what they really needed was a site for the World's Fair. And a lot of this sprung from my work as a collector. And at that point, I did my second major criminal activity, which was completely intentional. I found a site and made identifications under the owner of the site, and then sold the site or leased the site to the World's Fair Committee for New Orleans.
And you didn't own the site. You leased it, but you didn't own it.
Yeah, my mother pretended to be the owner. I pretended to be the broker. And we just talked of it, that it was the perfect site, and we gave him a great deal on it.
And you just collected the money from him.
Yeah, we just collected the money. I know.
That's somewhat amazing. And there's
I know.
I want to leave the scene for the book as to like the money. I want to leave it for the readers, because it is.
Oh, sure.
It is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. I think the other part of this too, Dave, that I want to convey to my audience is the amazing. I mean, not just you, but also your mother, is the amazing gift of gab that both of you had. There's a talent there that both of you possessed that I just don't know that ordinary people have. The ability to not only talk yourself into a situation, talk yourself through it, but then talk yourself out of it. So with a bit of sly and cunning that most people don't have. I mean, you do realize that, right?
Yes, that I do realize that, especially for my mother. She was amazing. But yeah, well, I appreciate that. It certainly helped in different aspects of life.
I mean, and again, I don't want to spoil this for the book, but it even saves your life at one time.
Yes, that's true.
And
That's true.
That scene in the book is something to behold too. It really is.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, but there's you have a way of, I mean, let's face it, you were never going to work, you were never going to work in a factory. It was never going to happen. You were never going to work at a punch press, pressing out widgets or doing things like that in your life. It was just never going to be part of your destiny. It was never going to be part of your deal. But let me ask you this. If you weren't doing what you were doing now, which right now you're an attorney, correct?
Retired.
Okay, retired attorney. If you were never an attorney, if you were never working with the law, if you were never working breaking the law, is there a profession that you could see yourself doing? Is there something that was an alternate passion that you thought to yourself, you know what, I could see myself doing this?
Well, I guess rock star was taken, huh?
Oh, well, I mean, the world always needs rock stars,
Was there something else? Well, I went through a lot of different bands. I studied accounting. I studied marketing. And I worked for many organizations in those capacities before I took up the law. But once I took up the law, I think that was probably the most natural use of whatever talents I had or developed through those years. In fact, when I do my next book, it will explore that. And let's put it this way: did you ever see the show Better Call Saul?
Yeah. Yep.
That was me as an attorney.
Okay.
So, there were, it's been quite a ride. And if I wasn't retired, I probably wouldn't be writing about it now.
Well, let me ask you this. Is the law a profession of necessity? Was it something that, being that you mixed it up with the law, you figured you had to know it because you had to navigate it?
I would say that there's a certain amount of that, sure. It's nice to know where the lines are. It's funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I look at very philosophically. I look at attorneys and doctors as wizards of sorts, modern day wizards. The doctors are like the wizards of potions and the lawyers are like the wizards who cast spells and research spells. And it is a kind of a magic. When you know where the lines are, and and you have the way to look around corners, it does help to be able to keep yourself, and in my case, lots of my clients out of trouble. So, yeah, I mean, the law was there for convenience for some of the inclinations that I had, but it was also there as a platform to help me help other people avoid those same problems that I went through.
Okay. Let me ask you this.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, David. Let me ask you this, because again, it's not a spoiler, but it's fair to say that you and your mother probably went about as high on the crime echelon as you can. I mean, you took your crimes to Las Vegas. I won't say how far you went with it, but you did eventually cross paths with the FBI. And
more than cross paths.
I'll let
Yeah.
you. I'll let you go as far as you want with that. But we'll keep it short with that because I do want people to read that in the book.
Sure.
But you crossed paths with the FBI. We'll put it that way. But you did quite the dance with them. We'll put it that way. So with that, I want to ask you this, and you did end up serving time, and
Yes, I did.
you ended up doing 5 years, correct?
I was sentenced to 5 years. I probably did more like 4
Okay. All right.
total.
Okay. With that in mind, I mean, considering all that you've accomplished, we'll put it that way, in your criminal career, is there such a thing as a successful criminal?
Well, that depends how you define success.
I would say a successful career criminal would be one that when you strike out the law of averages and the law of wins and losses, if you want to put it that way, one that makes more money and spends more time out of jail than in jail.
Okay, so that's a good definition. Based on that definition, there are successful criminals. You
Okay.
have a successful criminal life if you don't get caught. The problem is that the devastation after you do get caught is so difficult. It's so disruptive to your life and the lives of people that you love that it makes you wonder whether or not it was worth it in the first place. You hear about criminals that make I mean, there are certainly a lot of gangsters that have made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And after all is said and done, if they've gone to prison when they're much older, maybe it's worth it to them. Families are taken care of and so on. But in most cases, when you start down the path, you're not making that kind of money. And even if you make what I made at the time, there's an expression in jail, fast money goes fast.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one of those things that after you get out and you don't have the money anymore because you spend it on attorneys or you spend it on, you know, it was spent while you were in jail. It does have a chilling effect on choosing crime as a livelihood. Did that answer your question?
Does answer my question. Now I want to bring it back to something that we addressed in that question. That's this. I want to talk about the devastation part of it. And that's this. I want to talk about your personal reflection here and your personal devastation and how you felt you affected different people and how you look back on things. I want to go all the way back to the banker that made the loan versus all the way to the casinos and basically fleecing casinos and how one affects the other. So you talk about taking money from banks to taking money from government to taking money from casinos. When you look at the waves of destruction, the way that you put it, and who you fleece and who you take money from, do you tend to notice the minutia of destruction? In other words, you could say, okay, I'm taking money from a bank, but in the end, it's a bank. You could say it's federally insured. So in that end, you could say, well, if I look at the giant wave of destruction, it's insured. So really, I'm not really affecting anybody. But when you look at it, well, but then the government is taxpayers. And taxpayers are individual people. And individual people are affected. When you start to think of the minutia of it, really people are being affected. When you look at casinos. Well, yeah, casinos, it could be organized crime. Yeah, I'm not really affecting anybody. But when you look at it, casinos really do have regular people that are working at them. Regular people who really aren't making a lot of money. In the end, you are affecting regular people. You see where I'm going with the question? I do. So my question is, do you recognize in the end, or do you ever think of that minutia of the destruction that you put out there?
Wow. I didn't expect that question. We limited our activities for the most part to institutions such that you're describing. And I know that it's very easy to look at those type of institutions as being, well, as was said in 2008, too big to fail. And at the risk of sounding like a sociopath, I don't regret the institutions. I don't think we came anywhere near harming them in any way. I don't think whatever we got from any of those institutions, certainly New Orleans had their World's Fair. Mm-hmm. The casinos kept operating and making lots of money from people who are addicts of gambling. And I don't let me go into a screed about what the government does with or without their money. And I'd say if you had to, what we did was not victimless, but it certainly wasn't. We didn't go in with guns and create a risky environment for people at the bank. We didn't go. We didn't do the kind of content we could have. The kind of cons where you scam some rich person out of their mortgage money or something. What we did, I think, still was benign in terms of the victim. And like I said, I hope that doesn't make me sound like a sociopath, but it's as honest as I could be answering the question.
Sure. No, and that's what I was hoping for, is that there'd be that honesty there.
Yeah, I mean, and look, as a lawyer, I defended my clients regardless of, who would be hurt by it. A lot of my clients were businesses that were nightclubs and people that were operating not outside the law, but certainly outside of convention. And so, do I say to myself when I help defend a nightclub that wanted me to help keep the smoking ordinances from going into effect because they made money from smokers? Well, yeah, there are victims, the people that want to go to the club that can't because they can't deal with the smoking in the club, but that's their option. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And every issue has two sides to it. Yeah. And it's about picking your side, in my case, picking your side and being the best possible advocate you could for that side.
I agree.
The difference is that I still have that ability to think around the corner and to find options that other people, and in some cases other attorneys, were not able to see. So
Well, I think in the end too, David, is that you took, and it's not about where you start, it's where you finish. So in the end, you've written this book, and in the end, you ended up serving on the other side of the law, and you ended up becoming a lawyer. So it's not about beating yourself up about what destruction you did do. It's about correcting the destruction you did at the end. So
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So
yeah, I mean, I have we left that part of our lives behind us, and my mother, of course, is gone now.
Mm-hmm.
She went during the pandemic.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And but she was very happy that I wanted to do this book. She helped me with the first half, and she would have been very, very proud that it got published and that it's out there. And I'm glad I was able to do that and keep her memory going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though a lot of people think it's the wrong memory to keep going.
Well, no, I think there's some very valuable lessons in it. I don't want people to think that the book is glamorizing the con man thief life, because there's some very valuable lessons in it. There's very valuable lessons to the story here. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of action and adventure in it. And it's very entertaining, but there's also a huge lesson at the end, which I think people will. We haven't fleshed out the entire story so that people learn what that lesson is. But at the end of the book has a very, very important lesson to it, and if it doesn't hit you over the head, by gosh, it should. And that is, I won't tell you what the lesson is, but boy, it hit me over the head big time. So,
I'm so glad you enjoyed the book.
I did. I really did. I really had in fact, I enjoyed it so much. I didn't put it down. I read it all the way through. I
really?
Yes, I read it all the way through. So it was, I read it in one sitting. I sat with it for an entire Saturday and read it all the way through. So, yeah,
wow.
I really did.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So it was incredibly enjoyable for me, David, to sit down and read this book. I literally sat out on my porch and I read the entire thing. So it was immensely enjoyable for me, and I was entertained, and I love the fact that there's a burger on the front cover. I thought that was I love the humor with that.
And it's funny, I've negotiated with Big Boy. I'm going to be doing my first readings at Big Boy restaurants in Indiana and Ohio. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, last question, and then we can start to wrap up here. Is Big Boy still the best burger you've ever had?
Oh, that's a terrific question. I will share this with you. I will, if I'm driving out to New Hampshire to see family, I will purposely detour in Ohio to find a Big Boy restaurant to have a burger, even if it's like 50 miles out of my way.
Really?
I'm always on the hunt for a Big Boy. But not all Big Boys are the old Big Boys.
Yeah.
Different Big Boys, you have different preparations. But if I find the Big Boys that I've always enjoyed, I will always make a visit there. So, I mean, burgers today are not like, there are so many gourmet burgers, so many, so many different kinds of burgers. It's like, choosing between steak and fish. Mm-hmm. But Big Boy always has had a special place in my heart.
Now you got a Big Boys and a Fuddruckers right across the street from each other. Which one do you go to?
Big Boy.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
Yeah. I go to Big Boy.
Okay.
Oh, I've had that. I mean, at one point near where I live, there was a Big Boy 20 miles away and a Fuddruckers 5 miles away. I go to Fuddruckers once in a while. but I would drive the 40 miles round trip just to go to a Big Boy.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, one time I was at the Big Boy. This was while my mother was alive. It was way before the pandemic. And we were at the Big Boy in Illinois. Mm-hmm. And one of the customers started choking. And I jumped in and gave him the Heimlich, and the burger flew out of his mouth. And everybody's like, "Oh, you saved his life." And oh, that's wonderful. I didn't even get a free dinner. Can you believe that? Yeah.
Really?
Really. But that's okay. It was still worth it.
All right. Okay, this is the final question. As a burger connoisseur, what's better, In-N-Out or Whataburger?
Whataburger.
Really?
Well, first of all, I've had In-N-Out burgers because even though they don't have them in my neck of the woods.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, to me, they almost... I've tried them animal style.
Yes.
I've tried them... Yeah, I've tried different versions. Mm-hmm. And I always think to myself, maybe it's something I'm missing. You know what I mean? It's like, what is it about it that everybody likes that I'm missing? Then, and I go there again, I'm like, I just don't get it. The burger's kind of bland. It doesn't really have it doesn't have the zip of a Big Boy burger. Mm-hmm. I don't get it. Whataburgers are good, but they're not as overly hyped, I think, as the In-N-Out burgers. But hey, I'm open. If there's a version of In-N-Out burger that'll turn my head, I'm down with it.
Okay. Interesting.
Is that fair?
That's absolutely fair. I just needed to get a refined palate's opinion. That's all. That's what I Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed our time together, David. I appreciate you being with us today on True Crime Tuesday. And again, folks.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. Go get the book, Baker, Liar, Conman, Thief, Escaping the Law, One Identity at a Time. It's available right now by Wild Blue Press. We have a link in the description of this program. Folks, it's time for us to lighten things up a bit. It's time now for us to bring in Jessica Freeberg, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time, the time you've all been looking forward to. It's time now for Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals. And with that, we need a co-hostess. I tell you what, she's never been accused of being dumb. She's never committed a crime as far as I know. I haven't run a background check. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Freeberg. Hi, Jess. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. And yes, I am crime free.
Oh, good for you. I can't say the same.
Ooh, do tell.
Well, let's just say it was a drunken night and I was barely wearing any clothes. So.
Woo.
No, I don't know. I'm making stuff up now.
We're all streaking.
We're all streaking in the quad. Yeah. Speaking of, boy, oh boy, do we have interesting stuff today. The first story, by the way, is not a not safe for work story, but it does involve nakedness. So.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
I figured we'd start off a little risque this week. Boy, oh boy, not only today, but tomorrow, we are just chock-a-block full of stories. Jess, I don't know what the deal is.
There's a lot going on in the world, my friend.
It's summer. It's the unofficial, with Memorial Day, it was the unofficial start to summer, which means everybody decided to get busy.
Everybody's going a little crazy.
I guess so. Crazy from the heat, and there wasn't even that much heat. Down south there is, but not here. I mean...
Not here yet. That's true.
Not in the north. We're just pretending there's heat. I saw people already are out on the Pine River. What's up with that? People are out on the rivers already?
We go crazy. We get stuck inside all winter, and as soon as it's like 40 degrees, my kids are like, I'm running around outside in shorts, Mom, you can't stop me.
I don't get that. Why are you people in the waterways already in Minnesota? Get out of the water. It's freezing.
Yeah. I was going to say, that water is ice cold.
Right. It's probably like jumping into a kiddie pool full of ice water. Get out of there. Let it warm up a little bit. Jeez.
Yeah, there was just ice on it like yesterday.
Right. Like the ice flows just came off yesterday. Don't. Anywho, let's jump into it, shall we? Dumb crime, stupid criminals today. We're going to start off, of course, in Florida because why not? Let's start off with a naked Florida man because why not?
Florida never lets me down.
That's right. Let's put a machete in the guy's hand because why not?
Whoa, a naked man with a machete.
And he's from Florida. Why not? And let's have him chop off a guy's hand because why not?
No,
let's
not do that last part.
Let's have him do the Luke Skywalker thing because why not?
Oh my.
Here's the deal, Jess. A naked Florida man chops off a victim's hand with a machete and tells cops, "Is he dead? I tried to kill him."
Confession already made.
That's right. It's summertime in Florida, which means we're running around naked with a machete trying to kill people. It's a rite of passage in Florida. The birds are singing, the alligators are chomping, and people are trying to chop people up with machetes. It
does seem like there's a lot of machete stories that come out of Florida. Right? I feel like we just had one of these.
Well, I mean, you got to get through the thick brush and the swamp somehow, but...
Right.
And you also got to chop people up with something in Florida. So you got to have something. A naked Florida man chopped another man's hand off with a machete and then told cops, "Is he dead? I tried to kill him." That's nonchalant. Police in Miami Gardens discovered the victim around 4 a.m. last Monday with a severed hand and profusely bleeding from his head following a 911 call.
Yikes.
It was a mistake. Honest mistake. A blood-covered machete, of course, was found nearby because you can't have a crime without a nice blood-covered machete nearby. Witnesses told police they saw a man by the name of Ryan. They're not giving a first name, evidently. Sprinting from the grisly scene completely naked around the time of the attack. Oh, here's his name. Cops found 54-year-old Tyrone Arthur Ryan lounging on a sofa not far away from the victim described as his attacker. The story isn't well written. Police didn't release a motive, but said that Ryan's estranged wife, who has a restraining order against him, there's a shock, lives close by. Ooh, look at this guy. This is a guy you don't want to give a machete to. If you had a description of a guy you don't want to give a machete to, Jess, there he is.
That would be that guy. Yep, he's frightening.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy who, if you had a Disney ride that said, and it was singing as you're in a boat and you're in this boat and you're in the water and you hear, bee, bumblebee, bumblebee, boo. Here's the guy you don't give a machete to. This would be the guy who's standing at the end of the boat ride who they're taking the machete away from. Right there. That guy.
I agree. Yes.
That's that guy right there. See? As I hit my microphone. Is he dead? I tried to kill him. Bryant of Opelika. That's a nice sounding Florida name.
Ooh.
Yeah. Allegedly confessed to police as he was being taken into custody, according to the TV station. The victim was taken to HCA Florida Aventura Hospital for treatment. Went on to... Bye-bye. There he goes. Ryan is charged with attempted murder, causing injury, and domestic violence or violation of injunction. He is being held without bond at Turner Guilford Night Correctional Center. That's a colorful name for a correctional center. There you go.
Yes, it is. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, and a very incomplete story for the New York Post. So thank you, New York Post, for that. Let's move on, Jess. Our second story today is about a woman who called 911 on herself during a carjacking so she could do it legally.
Wait, what?
Well, every once in a while, my friend, if you want to do something the legal way, you should probably call cops first and find out if you can do it legally and then see if you can get permission. It's kind of like, getting a permission slip.
I want to know how this turns out.
I do too. By the way, here's a body cam of the woman being arrested.
Boy, she looks feisty.
She does, doesn't she? Doesn't she kind of have that, middle-aged housewife? I really called in for permission for this look to her.
She certainly does.
Yeah, she does, doesn't she? Yeah, I know. Here's a story. Again, we're going back to Florida. We never left. A Florida woman called 911 on herself during an attempted carjacking at a car dealership so she could do it legally. God. When they were making the call out for brains, anybody want brains? Anybody want brains? She thought they said sprains and said, no, thank you. I'm in enough pain already. I don't need any. 37-year-old Christy Turman was arrested and faces trespassing charges in relation to the incident. An audio clip of Turman's 911 call and video footage of her arrest at the dealership were shared by the Lee County Sheriff's Office in an episode of its Facebook Live series, Live with LCSO, which aired on Wednesday, June 5th. Because I'm trying to steal a car that's not legally mine, Turman told a dispatcher during the 911 call. So y'all better come make a report. I'm reporting this, was the other part of her.
Wow.
See how that works, Jess? Yeah. Responding Lee County Sheriff's Office deputies arrived at the scene and spotted Turman exiting the driver's side of a stolen Toyota Corolla. The suspect claimed that she was trained in a game of black ops to steal the car, but contacted police in order to do so legally. I think she got this from a video game.
I don't think that's how that works.
No. Turman's criminal history includes a variety of charges, including petty theft, robbery, and aggravated battery, according to the Lee County Sheriff's Office. No additional details about Turman's arrest were shared by the department at the time of publication, which was Friday, June 7th. So again, folks, don't take your training from video games seriously. Chances are it isn't based on real life.
Good advice.
Yeah, I'm just here to help, Jess. I'm just here to help. We're going to Rome, Georgia, where a drunken Rome man chased people with a dead snake on Broad Street.
Yikes.
Well, we all have to pass the weekend somehow. Some of us read a book. Some of us watch TV. Some of us play video games. Others of us take a dead snake and chase people up Broad Street with us. 33-year-old Joshua Michael Elijah Smith. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It's a big name.
It is. Was arrested this past week after reports that he chased people around Broad Street with a dead snake while he was intoxicated. We all have different things we do while we're intoxicated, Jess.
I mean, I'm glad it's dead. I'd rather be chased with a dead snake than a live snake.
Right. I mean, some of us play video games when we're intoxicated. Some of us fornicate. Other of us pick up a dead snake and chase people. We all have our priorities. Reports added that Smith attempted to hit individuals in the face with his snake. That sounds like a phallic thing. As he was yelling vulgar and profane things at them.
Of course he was.
So he was like, take it in the face, y'all! Yeah.
I like the Georgia accent, too. Nice touch.
I appreciate that. Smith allegedly told officers that he had drunk 6 beers before the snake incident. So he's a lightweight.
I was going to say, that's all?
Yeah. I drank 6 Miller Lights, and I want you to take my python in your face. Smith is charged with public drunk and disorderly conduct. He wasn't that drunk. I mean, come on. 6?
He was just a little tipsy.
Even if it was 6 Schlitz malt liquor bowls, that still isn't a lot.
I mean, if I had 6, I'd be under the table. or on top of the table. Either way, it would be ugly. But I feel like a grown man should be able to drink 6. Maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, 6 really isn't that much. Come on. I mean, especially to be hauling around. You're getting exercise if you're hauling around a snake.
It's true.
You got to be sweating off some of that.
Upper body workout, cardio, all in one.
Yeah. 6 is not that much. By the way, I got to thank a bunch of people this week for stories. Let's put it this way. I wasn't doing a lot of heavy lifting, unlike the guy from Rome, Georgia.
So the listeners came through for you.
They did. I got to thank Tony. I got to thank Sayori, I believe it is, who I sent this next story about the ice cream sundae.
Ooh.
Yeah. Sayori came
Laid
through
on.
huge. Yeah. So Tony, Sayori, Jeff, Jim, by gosh, we got like a regular rogues gallery of people who are sending in stories this week. So there's probably like 6 or 7 people now who are sending in stories. So
keep it coming.
Yeah, and it's multiple stories. So I have to thank them for that. So it's getting to the point where I don't even do work anymore. I just check my
Gotta
inbox.
love it.
Yeah, and I just throw out stories. So to you people, I absolutely love you. You're making my shows easy to do here. So.
And keeping them interesting.
And they are very interesting. So to Sayori, I thank you very much for this story. Break and enter suspect making an ice cream sundae was caught. So you're breaking and entering and making an ice cream sundae.
Got hungry.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is hungry work. This happened in Kelowna. And I think it was made, actually, Kelowna is up in Canada. It's the Kelowna RCMP, or the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, found an alleged burglar with a sweet tooth over the weekend. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police say a store's alarm was triggered last Sunday around 4 a.m. on Highway 33 West in the Rutland area. When the police officer arrived, he witnessed a suspect making a chocolate sundae behind the counter. Sergeant Judith Bertrand, the media liaison officer for the Kelowna RCMP, said. Mounties say when police reached the scene, they confirmed a breaking and entering and took the suspect into custody. The suspect will be required to attend court in the next few weeks. I wonder what the grand total in Canadian currency is for a chocolate sundae. The suspect will be required to attend court in the next few weeks as significant damage was caused to the store. Was it all the chocolate sauce all over the place? Was that the big deal?
All hyped up on sugar and just knocking stuff over.
I guess. It's like that Mike Myers skit from Saturday Night Live where he's got the helmet on and he's chained up to the store. Police say the investigation suggests that the suspect broke the front door to gain entry into the store, tried to steal items from a fridge that was locked, and then made himself a treat. Oh, that's the cutest thing ever.
But it's kind of adorable and crazy all at the same time.
Canadian crime is so cute. It just is. It's so adorable. I have no way of putting it. Here in the States, we're hacking off people's hands with machetes, and they're making ice cream sundaes and wrecking stores. It's not the same.
It is cute.
But we appreciate it, Sayori. Appreciate it very much. Appreciate the try, at least. I mean, the next time you're hacking up gummy bears with a machete, give us a call. We appreciate that. That's really cute, what you guys do.
I actually prefer this story over the machete one because the machete one's sad.
Well, it is sad, and it's tragic, and it's horrible, but and every once in a while you need a change up there. You need a little something to say, hey, that wasn't so bad, right? So that you can get into stuff like this. We're going to New York, where a stunned couple found $100,000 in cash inside an old safe they dredged up while magnet fishing in a New York City lake.
Wow, lucky day.
See? I mean, it does get better, Jess. That's what I'm saying. This one coming from a listener as well. A New York City couple got their hands on about $100,000 in cash from a safe that they pulled up from a lake while magnet fishing in Corona Park. See, I never get this lucky. This never happens to me. This is not a... This is not a
I've
Tim.
never been magnet fishing. How do you magnet fish?
You get a fishing pole, a line, and a huge magnet, and you throw it in the water. I mean, that's pretty much what happens right there.
A different kind of worm.
That's what he said. A New York City couple got their hands on about $100,000 in cash from a safe that they pulled up from a lake while magnet fishing in Corona Park. To pull off this unique feat, James Kane and Barbie Agostini attached a neodymium? A neodymium. That's what it is. Magnet. Never heard of it. Never had one.
Now we know. We need to get some.
That's right. Which go for as little as $21.99 on Amazon, Jess.
Well, we can get two.
There you go. A we can get, I love your answer. We can get two for that price. Right. A neodymium magnet, which go for as little as $21.99 on Amazon, to a fishing rod and reeled an old safe out from the depths of the water. And at first it was a mundane discovery because, as Kane told New York One, we have found plenty of safes before. This is just what a magnet fisher does. It's not the first one.
Ahoy, me mateys. Wait, I said that all wrong.
No. That was close enough. Who throws a safe in the water?
And then pirates find it.
Right, well,
Treasure.
I don't know if they call themselves pirates, but sure. The couple explained that the safes they find are usually empty, save for some plastic baggies that once held cash. But after they wrenched this one open, it became clear that they stumbled on quite the score. We pulled it out, and there were 2 stacks of freaking hundreds. Big stacks, Kane said. Okay. Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it any way you want to pile it on us, that's for sure. Agostini thought Kane was joking at first, but when she saw the bills were inside plastic baggies, she said she lost it. Well, don't lose the cash. I mean, that would be horrible. Unfortunately for them, water did manage to work its way inside the baggies and damage the $100 bills. It's unclear if they'll be able to cash in the bills, but there's still a chance that the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and Printing will redeem their money. So there you go. If more than 50% of the currency is identifiable, a lawful holder of the notes may receive a redemption at full value. Kane told New York One that he's always wanted to become a treasure hunter, and when he and Agostini were bored during the pandemic, they decided to take up magnet fishing. We call it the poor man's treasure hunting. The couple created a YouTube channel last June called Let's Get Magnetic, where they post their best hauls from various bodies of water throughout the New York City area. So there you go, Jess.
The things people do. I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah. I think we should start something similar. You and I will do a YouTube channel called Magnetic Attraction. We'll get some of these magnets. We'll throw them on a fishing pole and see if we can unfasten people's pants on the street corner.
I think we could get in trouble for that. We'll be on the show as dumb criminals.
We'll just drop people's pants on street corners. What do you say?
Do we have to go to Florida to do this?
No. We could do it here in Minneapolis. I think that would work, wouldn't it?
I'm willing to try.
We might as well. I mean, think of the ratings we'll get.
We just might make people mad at us.
We'll get millions of hits on one video. Take a look at this cash, how corroded it is.
Oh my gosh, that's so wild.
Isn't it? That's something
What
else.
a cool thing.
It is, yeah. You know, magnetic attraction, you're not down for that? Someone's going to take this idea. You know that, right?
Well, they should, and then you should get a cut from whatever they make off of it. All the millions.
Someone's taking that tomorrow. They're putting up the website and everything. Magneticattraction.com. You watch. Someone's going to take my idea and they're going to start dropping people's flies right there in the middle of the street. With one of these magnets, they're just going to...
Just de-pantsing everyone.
That's right. Don't say I didn't tell you. We could have been millionaires, kid. Telling you. All right. Our next story has to do with a man who went viral for driving during virtual courts. Now, this was last week's story, Jess. This is what you missed out on. Did you see the viral video of the guy who went to court in Michigan on a suspended license. But he called in on a Zoom, and he was being tried for a suspended license. And as he called in, he was driving.
Oh.
And the judge goes, "Wait a minute," and he looks at his file. And I played the video of this over the air, and he goes to the lawyer, "So let me get this straight. The defendant is being tried on a suspended license." And she goes, "Yes, Your Honor. We're hoping to get the charges waived on this." So the lawyer is still going for it, right? And he goes, "I don't think so." He goes, "The defendant is remanded to custody of the jail tonight at 6. So he had to report to jail.
He drive himself there?
In the meantime, he's trying to tell, yes, and drive himself there. In the meantime, he's trying to tell Your Honor to hold on. I'm trying to find a parking spot.
Oh,
because he's trying to tell the guy to pull over so he can give him his verdict.
Oh, man. Some people are so stupid.
Right. He's trying to tell the judge to hold on, right? Well, it turns out that the man who went viral for driving during virtual court hearing for the suspended license is reportedly been vindicated.
What? How?
Here's how. That Michigan man who went viral last week in that video clip that we played right here on the show was the victim of a clerical error. Here's the story. 44-year-old Corey Harris, who actually was quoted in another article as being embarrassed nationally and internationally by the clip, which, by the way, went viral everywhere on social media, attended the virtual May 15th hearing for an October traffic stop in Pittsfield Township, Michigan. In the clip, Judge Cedric Simpson appeared to be in disbelief as Harris was driving while attending the hearing for a suspended driver's license. "Mr. Harris, are you driving?" Simpson asked, to which Harris replied that he was behind the wheel. "Okay, so maybe I don't understand something. This is a driving while license suspended case," Simpson told Harris's public defender. "And he was just driving, and he doesn't have a license." He then ordered Harris's bail revoked and ordered him to surrender to authorities at the Washtenaw County Jail by 6 p.m. that day, to Harris's disbelief. The video clip made the rounds on the internet and quickly spread like wildfire. With the type of ties that I have with the church and the community, it is very embarrassing, Harris told WXYZ TV about the widely viewed incident. His driver's license was suspended in 2010 for unpaid child support, but a judge rescinded the suspension in January of 2022, that according to the TV station. However, the Michigan Secretary of State's office never received a clearance from the Saginaw friend of the court, that according to WXYZ, which tracked down the clerical error. That means that the lifting of the suspension never went into effect. In the video clip, Harris told Simpson he was pulling into a parking lot at a doctor's office for an appointment. "What was I thinking? I was thinking about getting my wife medical help," Harris told the news station. "That's what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking about the fact that I got a suspended license. I don't care about all that. Always double check behind these workers because they will say that they will do something and they don't do it," he added. Harris said he spent 2 days in jail following the hearing after turning himself in. Kyla Crane, deputy legal director for the Michigan Secretary of State, told the station that the process to get a driver's license reinstated can be a complicated process. Sometimes it's as simple as, "We at the Secretary of State's office did not get a clearance from the court that everything was done, but something happened in the wires, and we needed to talk to the court to get the clearance and clean it up for the resident," Crane said. Well, but there's a little bit of responsibility on his end, too. He can't just hear, "You know what, it's been cleared up, you're okay," from the front of the court. He needs to make sure, because then he needs to go back to the DMV and make sure that everything is clear on his end before he drives. He can't just assume that he's got a free and clear license.
Yeah, he should have done his due diligence, as they say.
Right. And if he's going to court for driving under suspension, he should know that before he even goes to court, that he's got a clear license. If he doesn't, he should have went back to the state and said, no. I have a clear license, and it goes back to this case back in 2022. And he should have cleared it up before he even went to court. This shouldn't have been an issue. It should have never gone in front of a judge.
Right.
So it's his fault for not doing his due diligence. So really, the fact that he even ended up in front of a judge is his fault.
I agree. It's all his fault.
Yeah. So the fact you got embarrassed online, my man, that's all up to you.
It's not like a couple people in Minnesota did pants you with a magnet.
That's right. That could still happen. Magnetic attraction coming to YouTube. If you're on a Minneapolis street corner, just watch it. You could be smoking a joint downtown Minneapolis and have your pants dropped. Just saying.
Oh, what a world.
Have you been downtown lately, by the way?
It's been a minute.
Oh, everything smells like weed.
I bet. Yeah, I'm sure it does.
It does everywhere. It smells like weed everywhere downtown Minneapolis. So you could be
kind of surprised that they're smoking it when they can drink it or just eat it in a delicious cupcake or a gummy. Like, why do you want to smell like a skunk?
I don't know. I think the minute it went legal, everybody just decided, hey, let's fire it up. Smoke it if you got it. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. You would think that, probably because it's easier to get and smoke than it is to eat it. I don't know.
It's probably cheaper.
It is. It's cheaper to get and smoke than it is to put it into a syrup and make it into something.
Yes. In this economy, you have to think frugally.
That's right. Plus, do you know how expensive it is to get that much flour and then break it down into something and then make it into an edible?
No, I've never thought about this before.
It's a lot.
Is it?
Yeah. So anyways, let's not talk about my criminal enterprises. Let's go on to the next story. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I was going to ask if you're doing some baking over there.
No, not me.
A lot about this.
No, if I were doing any baking, I'd be making money. Speaking of making money, do you know who's making money off of weed right now?
Who?
Governor Jesse Ventura.
Oh, I heard that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you seen any of the commercials for it?
No, I haven't. I bet they're great, though.
It's pretty funny. He's on there talking about the weed, It's pretty funny.
You're nailing it.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. We move on from Disney to Lego. We're going on a kids theme now for the next couple of stories. 2 are arrested, including a 71-year-old man, for allegedly stealing almost 3,000 boxes of Legos. Jess, are you ready for this?
What a crime. That's a lot of money, though. 300 boxes?
3,000.
Those are expensive. Oh, 3,000.
3,000. A box of Legos can go anywhere from $25 to $75 to $100.
Yeah, they're really, some of those bigger ones, they're really expensive.
They are. 2 people were arrested Wednesday on what police are calling a Lego theft ring. A Lego theft ring.
Wow.
After almost 3,000 boxes of stolen Lego toys were found in a California home, 71-year-old Richard Siegel and Blanca Gudino, who's 39 years old, were arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department after a retailer identified Gudino as a suspect in a number of thefts at their San Pedro location in December of last year, leading police to conduct a months-long investigation. On Tuesday, Gudino was seen stealing from the same retailer's Torrance and Lakewood locations before dropping off the stolen Lego sets at Siegel's home. Detectives conducting a search warrant at Siegel's home the next day found over 2,800 boxes of Lego sets. Are you ready for this? Ranging in price from $20 to $1,000.
Wow.
That is an expensive Lego set. Investigation at Siegel's residence, potential buyers of the toys arrived, lured by advertisements placed by Siegel on internet sales sites, the LAPD said in a news release. Both Siegel and Gudino were arrested. Siegel was charged with organized retail theft, and Gudino was charged with grand theft. It's not clear if either have legal representation at this time. The LAPD is asking anyone with information on this theft ring to get in touch. Now, Jess, would you be the one to snitch on that theft ring?
I'm a tattletale. I would tell on him.
You're a tattletale.
I don't like criminals.
You'd be like, I'd snitch him out. Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
If they said to you, you know what, Jess, we'll cut you in. I mean, we got 30,000. We got 30,000 worth of Legos back here. We'll cut you in for 10.
Nope, I'm gonna make my money the honest way.
Wow, look at you.
Plus, they're driving up the price of Legos. Probably, if people are stealing them, they're just gonna cost more. And my kids love those things.
Look at you, honest Jake, huh?
Honest Abe.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. How about this ring? This ring could be even more lucrative. Are you ready for this? You've heard of Funko Pops, right?
Okay, I have, and I cannot think of what they are.
I will show you. In fact, I have one. Let me think. Do I have one in back of me? I have one to the side of me, but in order to...
Oh, yes. I know what these are. Okay.
That's a giant. These are two giant ones. The one I'm showing Jess is a Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant set from WrestleMania 3.
That's a cool one.
That's a 2-pack. So there you go. That's one that I keep over here. That's a spatial one, Jess.
It's a pretty cool one there, Tim.
Yeah, that's a special one. That was a special one from Target. So there you go. From Target, Yeah, that's a special one from Target. Well, this one was, again, we're going to Rome, Georgia. A Rome teenager was jailed for stealing his grandmother's Funko Pops. Why his grandmother has Funko Pops is beyond me. But Jeffrey Allen Hughes, who's all of 17 years old and probably should have Funko Pops, was arrested this week after reports that he illegally entered his grandmother's home in Lindale and stole her Funko Pops. Officers said that Hughes entered the North Hillcrest Drive home through the window and damaged blinds in the process. Reports went on to say that Hughes proceeded to steal 5 Funko Pops valued at $125. Here's the only problem. Funko Pops generally don't retain their value.
They're not like collector's items if you keep them in the box.
Not really. I mean, you pay anywhere from 11 to, $9 to $11, and you might get, maybe $100 at the most for like one that it really appreciates.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not that.
So I shouldn't come steal your Funko Pop?
No, that one right there is probably worth 50 at the most.
I don't know. I could use $50 right now, Tim.
Could you? Yeah.
I might climb through that window and steal your Funko Pop.
This is a hard egress window to climb through because it's got a little barrier on it, a little rod.
I'm a scrapper.
Yeah. Well, give it a shot. You never know. Hughes is charged with theft by taking and criminal trespass, all for $125 worth of Funko Pops that you probably can't turn around and sell for more than $75. So, good luck to you, kid. You're learning the hard way. By the way, that kind of strains things at the holidays and Christmas.
Right? I think Grandma would be upset about that.
Not only that, but he's not getting $5 in that birthday card. So there you go. Good luck, kid. Life only gets rougher from there.
You ruined it.
Yep. Just saying. Just a few more stories left here on the big program today. After this story, we've got our Not Safe for Work section of the program. By the way, Jess, you'll never think of a certain restaurant as being family again.
Oh, no. You're going to ruin it for me. I hope it's not one I like.
We'll see. This next story has to do with high school graduation. Did you have any high school grads this year?
I did not. We had one last year, but not this year.
Okay. Well, this man was charged for disrupting high school graduation this year. The perp stopped his daughter from shaking hands with black administration.
I saw that. That was crazy.
Wasn't it, though?
Yes. What is wrong with people?
Well, it happened in good old Wisconsin, of course. People say I pick on Wisconsin too much and Iowa to a point, but this one, I guess, is warranted. We go to Wisconsin, where a man who rushed the stage at his daughter's high school graduation to keep her from shaking hands with a black administrator was charged with disorderly conduct.
Oh, man.
Good old Wisconsin racism. 49-year-old Matthew Kim Eddy disrupted the May 31st ceremony at Baraboo High School moments after his daughter Elise's name was announced, and she collected her diploma and began shaking hands with school officials, as you normally do.
Right.
All right. In a police interview, Eddy claimed that he and his daughter had past issues with Rainey Briggs and disliked the Baraboo School District superintendent. Eddy stated he wanted to prevent Briggs from having the satisfaction of shaking his child's hand, so he went onto the stage to prevent that from happening. Asked if he was remorseful for disrupting the ceremony, Matthew stated he was, but only for his child's sake. God.
Did he have some kind of beef with them? Like, why?
We're about to find out. Eddy explained that he felt Briggs treated he and his child unfairly and unprofessionally during a prior educational administrative proceeding, which resulted in a negative educational consequence for his child. The court filing does not further detail that proceeding. In a June 5th interview, Briggs told police that Eddy grabbed his shoulder and pushed him backwards, saying that he was not going to touch his, quote, fucking child.
Oh my gosh. What on earth?
Sorry for the language, kids, but that was a direct quote. Briggs told investigators that he didn't believe he knew who Matthew was until the incident. He had no clue.
What a lunatic.
Yeah. As seen in the video from the event, Eddy darted out of the audience, bounded up 6 steps to the stage, and shoved Briggs off the receiving line before the administrator, the only black person on the stage, by the way, could congratulate the teenage graduate. Isn't that something? The ceremony was briefly derailed by the actions of Eddy, who was dressed to the nines in a Nike polo shirt and a ball cap, on top of which his sunglasses rested. He dressed up for the occasion, Jess. That's known as Wisconsin fashionable. Yeah, I believe. Yeah. Polo shirt, ball cap, sunglasses on the ball cap.
Practically black tie in Wisconsin.
That is, yeah. Briggs is seeking a restraining order, of course, against Eddy, who was confronted backstage last week by Brendan Meyer, a school resource officer with the Baraboo Police Department. Eddy was named today in a criminal complaint charging him with disorderly conduct, a Class B misdemeanor punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a maximum $1,000 fine. Eddy's initial circuit court appearance is scheduled for August 14th. His bond is only $150. That's not a lot for charging the, school steps.
Yeah, it should be more. And there should be an additional charge for just generally being an a-hole.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. Being an a-hole during graduation should be at least a $5,000 fine. Eddy and his wife Kelly and the couple's 2 children live outside of Baraboo in the village of North Freedom on a 10-acre property. In a statement, the school district said that it did not condone threatening, intimidating, or physically harming behaviors against anyone in our school district community. Without naming Eddy, the officials added that this adult felt emboldened to behave in this way in front of hundreds of students and other adults should deeply trouble us all. This type of behavior will not be tolerated. It's just a shame that happened at high school graduation.
It is a shame.
Yeah. All right, it's time now for our Not Safe for Work portion of the program. We got a couple of stories here that, of course, you shouldn't be listening to in front of the kiddies. Even if they just graduated high school, it's probably not a good idea. If you're at work, turn your listening device down or put in your earbuds now. If you're in front of the kids and you're watching them at home, it's probably the same good advice. We're going to do this now in 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome in now to the Not Safe for Work edition of Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals. We go to Texas, where a 60-year-old Texas man cops to placing store antiques inside his buttocks. Yes, inside his rear
Wow.
end. Hello.
Pardon me. Sorry, Tim. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Ow.
We're starting it off with a bang in the old butt. That's right, Jess.
Okay, carry on.
There's a man who likes it old in the old rear end, if you know what I mean. He likes to feel how old something is by putting it in the old poop chute.
That's his age testing.
That's right. That's his old age tester. A kilt-wearing Texas man pled guilty this past week to taking merchandise from antique stores and shoving the items up his rectum. Upped his rectum. That's what he did. He upped his game by upping his rectum before returning them to display shelves. So in other words, he didn't...
Oh, stop.
Yes, he did, Jess. He didn't clean them before he returned them.
I'm never shopping at an antique store again.
He wasn't kind before he rewinded, if you know what I mean. 60-year-old Mitchell Vest copped to criminal mischief in connection with vile incidents earlier this year at shops in Spring, Texas, which is a Houston suburb. As part of his plea deal, the 6'6", 250-pound Vest. Imagine seeing a man that large take an antique, I don't know. What do you call those little they're precious moments dolls? Imagine seeing one of those precious moments dolls get inserted like a, up someone's rectum. And then seeing one of those.
I'm trying not to imagine it, Tim, actually.
And then imagine that precious moment doll coming back out and being put back on the shelf. Anyways, Vest was sentenced to Harris County criminal court to 12 months probation. I'm still thinking that poor precious moments doll being put up there. Since Vest is a first-time offender, he successfully completes the probationary term. The misdemeanor conviction could be wiped from his record, unlike that poor precious moments doll that didn't get wiped before it got put back on the shelf. I know, Jess. I'm trying to kind of power through this story here. According to police, Vest visited one store and placed a makeup brush and a restoration hardware piece in his anus before placing them back on the shelf for display.
A makeup brush.
Now imagine you pick up this antique makeup brush and go, "This would be so cute on my makeup table."
And I start putting it all over my face.
And then somehow end up with pink eye the next day.
Ew.
Only to find out, Jess, that you got this guy's crusties all over your face.
Good heavens.
Yeah.
He looks so angry.
He does. Well, that's how he takes out his anger. He puts your stuff up his ass. Just saying.
What an odd thing to do.
I know. The owner of a second business, the Curiosity Shop, told cops that Vest took an antique bottle opener and a tobacco tent can. Oh, yeah, he went big. And then he went home. Yeah. And placed them into his anus under his green skirt or kilt and then returned the items to the shelf.
He's hurting himself.
Oh, I don't think he hurt himself.
That has to hurt.
Well, let's just say he's got a certain amount of stretchability to his to his repertoire. In both instances, the soiled merchandise, valued at a combined $204, had to be thrown away due to feces on them.
Oh.
That sick puppy. Since his arrest, Vest has been free on $100 bond. Described as retired in court filings, Vest and his wife, yes, he's married. He's off the market, ladies. You can't have him.
There is someone for everyone.
Do you think his wife enjoys fisting him? I'm just saying. I'm just asking. Do you think it's an activity between he and the wife?
Oh, I don't know.
Vest.
My gag reflexes kicked in so many times during the story.
Sorry. Vest and his wife own a $600,000 home in the Woodlands, which is a Houston suburb. He could have paid for the stuff, took it home, and done his own stuff to it. He just chose to go into the store and ruin it.
Yeah. What a sick, weird fetish.
Yeah, right? By the way, Jess, in case you needed a visual, that's him.
Oh, stop!
That is him on camera doing it. I had to show Jess the actual store camera.
He's got his hand up his skirt. Oh my God.
He does. He's got his hand under his kilt, and he's shoving a tobacco can up there.
Oh, no.
Oh, Mr. Vest, we hardly knew ye.
I need to go wash my eyes out.
That sick puppy. All right. We go from one location that you probably will never shop at again to one that you probably will never eat at again.
You're saving me so much money right now.
I am. Our final story today on Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals has to do with a restaurant where when you're there, you're family.
Uh-oh.
An Olive Garden cook sues over a coworker's ceaseless dry humping. Wait a minute, Jess. That's not a breadstick.
I just took a sip of my tea and it literally just came out of my nose.
It's true when you're here, your family. That is, if your family members compulsively dry hump against your will and refuse to stop even when you notify law enforcement. It's true. A former line cook at a Baltimore area Olive Garden is suing the chain over a coworker's incessant rubbing and grinding of his pelvis against her derriere dozens of times a day.
Insane.
Yeah. That's according to a federal lawsuit obtained by the Daily Beast, in which Jane Doe accuses her bosses at the White Marsh Mall, Olive Garden, and parent company Darden Restaurants of letting the situation get so intolerable that she was forced to quit. Here's the quote. Each shift, without fail, the coworker consistently rubbed and pressed his crotch against plaintiff's behind when he walked behind her. The May 9th lawsuit states this happened several times per shift that they worked together, sometimes more than 20 times in a single 8-hour shift. When did this guy get work done?
That's crazy. I think I would arm myself with a meat tenderizer, and when he came up behind me, I would just be like, whack. You're done.
Oh, it'd be tender at that point, all right.
Right.
Better yet, I'd get a taser and make it well done. Anytime plaintiff bent over to get ice from the machine or to perform other regular duties assigned to her, the coworker in question found a way to position himself directly behind her and press his crotch against her behind.
So rude.
Again, when did this guy get work done? Doe claims in her suit that even when there were multiple routes for her alleged tormentor to get to his workstation, he always took a route that led him past plaintiff and then rubbed himself against her. When Doe complained to management, she says her hours were drastically decreased.
What?
Yes. Taking away her ability to earn a living wage and forcing her to quit. The Daily Beast, of course, did not identify the coworker, as he is not named as a defendant in the lawsuit. I don't know why. Why didn't she sue him?
That's crazy. I would.
Yeah, I would have sued him.
I mean, there's a lot I would do, but he would do that once, and then he would have nothing to rub up against me next time he came around.
Our client has experienced sexual harassment that is all too common in the restaurant industry. Doe's attorney, Tamara Slater, of Washington, D.C. law firm Allen Lesht and Associate, told the Daily Beast she was subjected to verbal harassment. She was subjected to physical harassment that involved unlawful touching. As a result of this unlawful treatment, she ended up unemployed. It has caused her extreme distress, It has been a long and difficult road to seeking justice, and we're looking forward to working to vindicating her rights in court. For its part, Darden said Doe did not prove that her working conditions were so intolerable that a reasonable person in her position would have felt compelled to resign. That according to a motion to dismiss filed on May 29th. In other words, they don't think she should have quit.
But nobody was making it stop. What was she supposed to do?
What, did they think she enjoyed it?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
That's crazy.
The origins of the case can be traced back to August of 2022 when Doe was hired at an Olive Garden in Nottingham, Maryland, according to the suit. At first, Doe's co-workers were friendly to her, it says, but within a week, that co-worker's ceaseless dry humping began. Doe felt violated and feared for her safety every day, the lawsuit states, contending that her co-worker's disgusting behavior had her constantly on edge and humiliated her while at work. She became vigilant to avoid him and checking her surroundings at all times for fear that he would again grind his pelvis against her. By that October, Doe had had enough and told her general manager, but he told her that he should not miss out on a husband. What?
Wait, what?
So Doe complained to another manager, who also allegedly didn't do anything to end the harassment. I would have grabbed this guy by his ear, walked him outside, and told him, if you want to keep your job, you'll keep it in your pants.
That's bananas.
Here's a block of saltpeter. Inhale that fucker and get back to work.
Yeah.
Focus on keeping yourself as limp as the noodles in this place. That's what I would have told him.
Solid advice.
Yeah. The company's tolerance of this vulgar behavior only emboldened the crotch grinder, the suit says. I hope it says that word for word. That's an entertaining lawsuit. In late November of 2022, Doe's co-worker pinned her against a towel rack in the restroom, which she says injured her back. At this point, she decided to go to the police, according to the lawsuit. Okay, the minute she goes to the police, if you're the managers of the restaurant and you want to keep your job, you fire the guy.
Yeah, I hope the managers got fired.
Yeah. And while court filings do not make clear if the cops did anything about it, it says in no uncertain terms that Olive Garden still didn't do anything. The location's general manager told Doe that he had spoken with the coworker and that the coworker knows not to do it again. That was in quotes that the lawsuit went on to say. In addition, the general manager's supervisor said she had also had a talk with the coworker. However, Doe was told that the dry humper wouldn't be fired, according to the suit. From here, things only got worse. According to Doe's lawsuit, it says management slashed her hours and began training replacements for her. By her 8th month on the job, her shifts have been cut by at least 25%, and she had no choice but to resign. In its motion to dismiss, Darden said, even if the court considers all her allegations, plaintiff has utterly failed to allege intolerability. In fact, the motion continues, Doe's working conditions were less objectively intolerable than those in a similar case thrown out in 2019 by the Fourth Circuit. Doe is demanding a jury trial, along with yet to be determined pecuniary damages, compensatory damages, punitive damages, lost wages and benefits, and attorney's fees. Attorneys for Darden did not respond to the Daily Beast's request for comment. Well, of course they didn't, because it's egregious to ask for it to be dismissed.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow. So that's how we end Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals today.
What a story.
Isn't it, though? So, Jess, with that, we would tell people to check for updates as to what's going on with you at jessicafreeberg.com. I know you have a lot going on. How does the book writing go?
Oh, I tell you, I've got one due in 3 weeks. I'm not sure I'm going to pull it off, but I'm going to try.
Don't say pull it off in front of the people at Olive Garden. I'll just tell you that much right now.
Oh, I'll make it happen.
There you go. Don't tell that to the people at Olive Garden either, because they'll expect more than just something off the menu. Tomorrow on the big show, supernatural news. And then Thursday, Jess, do we have a big show? A while back, we had a show called Women in the Paranormal. And on that show, we were talking about different women in the paranormal, and we talked about one particular woman on that show that is a reverend. And this reverend has a particular spiritual gift. And that spiritual gift is this. She receives messages from the other side. And then that message from the other side is drawn onto a canvas and then given to that particular person. At one point, this gift manifested into 14 drawings in 1 hour. And she knows exactly who in the audience it goes to. She just writes down the location of the person in the congregation. And then she goes and she gives it to that particular person.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So tomorrow on the program, we talk with this reverend. I'll tell you more about her tomorrow.
She sounds amazing.
Yeah, she's something else. So fascinating gift, fascinating person. I got the chance to talk to her for about half an hour one day on the phone. And I was blown away by her gifts, blown away by her philosophy on life. I think you guys are going to enjoy her. So, great show this week. Looking forward to it. So, good week this week on the program. David Adler, his book is out there now. Want you to go ahead and pick it up. It is a fascinating book. Like I told you guys earlier on the program, I finished it in one day. Just one day sitting out on the porch. It is a fascinating book at that, and I want you guys to go get it. It's available by Wild Blue Press. And again, go to wildbluepress.com. And the name of that book is Baker, Liar, Conman, Thief. DJ Adler is his pen name, but David Adler is the name of our guest today. The name of the book again, Baker, Liar, Conman, Thief. And we'll have a link to it in the description of this program. And I'll tell you, he's lived about 1,000 lifetimes in just this one life. But the end of this book is incredible. And he's had run-ins with everybody from local police to the FBI and some of the crimes he's committed. Keep in mind, he's a retired attorney now. So he eventually went over to the light side.
Wow.
But man, this guy has committed some crimes. And the crimes will astound you as to what he's done. So go ahead and check that book out. So that'll do it for today, folks. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. We will see you tomorrow for Supernatural News, but thank you so much today for tuning in to the best in true crime podcasting. For Jessica Freeberg, I'm Tim Dennis. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in to True Crime Tuesday.